What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Served on the Rocks, powered by Living in Colorado, the Mile High Perspective on YouTube, as well as Fathom Realty and Keller Williams Downtown. As always, my name is Charlie Sardelli, and I am here with
Jameson Amros, everybody.
Oscar Ibarra.
And we are the Mile High Perspective, back for week 2 after a little bit of a hiatus.
A resurgence.
A resurgence. In our brand new, beautiful sponsor here at the Rouge Wine and Bourbon Bistro in Greenwood Village, right off of exit 197 on I-25. So, guys, come check them out. As you can see, the space is gorgeous. You literally transport to the 20s when you're here.
Yeah, you
right?
do. You do.
It's part of industry. It's their more refined side.
Yeah. You guys, you can rent it out for corporate events. You can do private dinners here.
Just come on, hang out.
As a reminder, guys, I know we drop the audio on Fridays. So this week, Friday, the 6th of September, they are going to be doing a phenomenal bourbon tasting with the head and master distiller of Old Forester. And guys, check it out. We covered Old Forester 1920 Prohibition, which, if you guys don't remember, Old Forester is one of the few bourbon distilleries that lasted through Prohibition. They're legitimately one of the oldest distilleries in the country.
It burnt down. They rebuilt it.
Yep.
And they also had medicinal whiskey.
Yep.
Which
They're
we
the
appreciate.
only one of, I think, 7 that were allowed to still distill during Prohibition.
Yeah.
For medicinal purposes.
And guys, not only are we here at the Rouge giving us an opportunity to use it as a studio and sit in here and record the podcast, but the partnership that we've formed with them has given us access to a list of bourbon that is legitimately endless. I mean, just as we were setting up the podcast today, Chris walked out. If you guys don't remember, Chris Collins, he is the head chef here, basically runs the whole deal with the bar, the food, everything. It's all Chris behind the scenes setting that up. But Chris came out and showed us Beyonce's bourbon.
If you wanted, then you should have.
I didn't even know she had a bourbon.
It just released.
Bro, she went country. Remember?
Yeah.
She went country.
That's probably why.
Oh,
she
yeah.
really,
that,
I mean-
dude, wait. The people from Texas are going to hate us because this is country. They're like, that song. Well, she is from Texas.
She is.
And I mean, honestly, marketing-wise, I mean, she's had her wine for, I think, close to a decade now.
Yep.
And her bourbon is in a sherry cask. So it's just a continuation.
Speaking of, all right, I got to remember this next time we talk to Chris. He needs to get us Gentleman's Cut bourbon, sponsored and created by my boy, Wardell Stephen Curry.
Yes.
I'm
We've
just
been trying to
saying.
get that for
I
the
know.
last year
I
and a
bet
half.
Chris could get it.
Yeah.
I bet you could
I
get
want
it.
some.
And maybe he can get Steph Curry to come and sit down with us.
Golden you know what? Still Steph Curry. I want to taste it. I've never had it.
Yeah.
I want to taste it too.
I just think I love that all the celebrities that are getting into liquors and stuff like that. I mean,
Hopefully it's good, though.
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he's done anything bad
No?
ever in his life.
Have you seen him golf?
No, he's a phenomenal golfer.
Dude can kick some
Yes.
butt.
If you guys
Phenomenal
didn't know this,
Great
Jameson
dad.
wakes up to a life-size cardboard cutout of Steph Curry
Oh,
in
yeah.
his bedroom every day.
I do. Yes, he's on my ceiling.
No, but guys, like I said,
Quick
we
smooch
have
smack.
Yep.
we have access to so many different bourbons now that we honestly don't know what to do with them.
Right.
What was the name of that bourbon?
Oh man,
Sir David? No,
Sir- I can't remember. All I know is the bottle looks great.
It
a
has
golden horse on
her
it.
name is nowhere near
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a cool looking bourbon. It kind of has the look, a little retro
Yeah.
with the grill, the grids.
Very
and-
1920s.
Yeah, kind of like a Centenario, the tequila bottle.
Yes.
I don't know if you saw
Yeah.
that one. It kind of looked like that.
Yep. And another thing that we're going to do, like I said, guys, we're on the series that we're doing to kind of introduce the Rouge. We're bringing you a really new bourbon with the Heaven Hill Grain to Glass series. Last week we did their straight bourbon whiskey, but the reason I bring that up is because
New bourbon as far as this series of bourbons
From Heaven Hill.
Heaven Hill is
Yes.
old distillery.
Yes, Heaven Hill. Oh yeah, Heaven Hill is again classic.
Right.
But the reason I bring it up is, as far as what we have access to is Chris actually reaches out to distillers and gets the Rouge specific barrels. So if you come here, you will get a combination of bourbons, whiskeys that you will not get anywhere else other than the Rouge. So after we get through these Heaven Hill, we're going to try and move into those and kind of give you a little bit more of a detailed breakdown of those bourbons. And Chris is going to let us know kind of, the tasting notes behind it, how they combine, all that kind of stuff. But on that note, we don't just talk about real estate. We don't just drink bourbon. Guys, we're here for you, right? We're here to answer questions, and we know that a lot of questions have come up around the National Association of Realtors lawsuit that started. I mean, we started hearing talks about it in December of this year, and everything got decided, and it was. I mean, market went crazy. Real estate agents went crazy. News took it and ran with it. Said that home prices are now going to be way more affordable. We're going to get into all of that on today's episode.
That would be the worst statement ever.
Right. I know. It's almost like they have no idea about real estate and they're talking about real estate. But anyway.
That is besides the point.
That is besides the point. We are, on today's episode, the bourbon that we are going to review and drink throughout the episode is going to be Heaven Hill Grain to Glass Kentucky Straight Rye Whiskey. Now, if you guys have been following along on the channel for a while, you know that all three of us kind of stayed away from rye at the beginning of our bourbon journey. And
I got it's a journey now.
yeah, it is a journey. I mean, shit, we're over, 60 different bourbons now? It's a journey. I mean, I think if you added all the bourbons we've drank to mileage, we could probably walk across Scotland. Oh, yes, something like that.
Stumble across Scotland.
Now, the reason that we're really excited about these bourbons, especially the Grain to Glass line from Heaven Hill, is because they go out and they have partnered with one of the most successful seed companies and agricultural research companies in the country. They're top 3, and that company is called Beck's Hybrids.
Aren't they in their area too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. So what they do is they've partnered, the head distillers every single year get with Beck's Hybrids, and they choose specific grains and seeds, and they start from seed. Now, these bourbons, we talked about it last week, all of these are going to be 6 years. So think about that. 6 years ago, or 7 years ago, the head distiller went to
look
Beck's
for some
Hybrids.
seed.
Yep, to choose a seed. Then they planted it, let it grow, and then made it into this bourbon.
And barreled it, and then we got to taste it.
Yep.
Labor of
journey.
love.
Just to give you guys a little bit of a
labor of
background,
love.
because we talked about bourbons, especially now as we just talked about celebrities are getting into it. A lot of these bourbons are doing shticks to kind of sell them, right? We've seen one who was it Angel's Envy that did the oak in the bottle.
No, that was Oak and Stave.
Oak and Stave.
Yeah.
So
or Oak and Eden. Sorry.
Oak and Eden. Yeah, Oak and Eden
had the stave.
Yes. So they basically cut part of a barrel, put it in a bottle, and say that it continues to age while it's sitting on the shelf. And then we've had others that do. I mean, the one that is in Colorado that they tried, the Breckenridge Rum Cask.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that was.
And that's where everybody's trying to do something different. But
And even the newer ones, because it does take time, and who has the capital to do so? I mean, they've been around for a while, so
Right.
they can go 7 years and produce something like this. Because if you're a fledgling bourbon distiller, you're not going to see profits for 3, 4, 5 years, and to get kind of creative with it, that's rolling the dice.
Well, and it's rolling the dice because you do get creative with it, but you don't know what the outcome is.
Right.
So it's not like I can mix a couple of barrels and be like, this is the next greatest thing, and I taste it immediately. It's you mix them, you rely on what you know, you put in some things you may not know, and you go, all right, we'll see what happens in 6 years. And you could take it out and be like, well, that was a waste of 6 years.
Yep. Well, and
Trash it.
Right.
What's amazing with the Beck's Hybrids is, and the reason I want to go into it a little bit more is because this is not just a company that goes out and talks to farmers and finds the best seeds. They conduct millions of dollars worth of research across 5 different states in order to optimize their grains. I'm talking like when you guys see like the picture of we said it last week, Charlie Day with the board and all the connect the dots, like that's what they're doing. They're taking legitimate tannins,
Right.
and pairing the tannins, which is, if you guys don't know about tannins or terpenes, they're the chemical makeup, the actual chemical composition that leads to a certain flavor or tasting note or smell. And so they are going that deep into the chemical makeup of these seeds to then optimize them for agriculture and growth. So Heaven Hill went in and said, oh, I like numbers. I like knowing exactly what the outcome is going to be. Because,
I like optimized grain.
Right? And so they went, and now and again, you guys know I'm a science nerd. Like I love physics. I love all things science. So the fact that
Bill Nye the Science Guy.
the fact that this is
I think we all love science.
made with
Yeah.
numbers and proof and statistics is, I mean, just from last week, it was amazing.
I think it's safe to say we all like data here.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's a cool thing because we already know that like no single barrel is going to be exactly the same, right? But the fact that Heaven Hill's growing their own grain that nobody else has access to,
Yep.
makes it a very unique line of bourbons.
Well, and not only that, I mean, just last week, how many times we've had Glencairns the entire time we've been on this podcast, even in the office days, right? We've been drinking from Glencairns. And what blew my mind is, and if you guys, here, let me see if I can, if you're watching these Glencairns or listening, these Glencairns, they're big.
Yeah.
They're not like I would say like the diameter of the top of the Glencairn glass itself is probably like 3.5, 4 inches.
It's kind of like a Tom Collins glass
Yeah.
had a baby with a snifter.
So it has a lot of room to aerate and breathe and open, right? But last week,
Oh, man.
you guys heard that? I'm going to give you the proof here in a second. But last week, I had it sitting, and the nose at the beginning of the episode was the exact same after it sat open for an hour and 20 minutes.
Yep.
That is a testament to the chemical makeup of this bourbon. And yeah, you can call me out. I'm nerding out on it. I thought it was awesome. The reason that you just heard Oscar's nose hairs
Singed the hairs.
in the mic. So this bourbon is 123%. So we're looking
123 proof.
123 proof.
If
Excuse
it was
me.
123%,
Jeez.
we'd be dead.
Yeah, 123
Or
proof.
blind.
Excuse
Or
me.
blind.
62 proof.
Yes.
So
62%.
yeah, 62%. So above 50%, it's going to be hot.
I think it's one of the strongest, if not the strongest,
Rye.
we've tasted.
Rise.
Rice.
We had the 130.
Oh, we did it.
The 130. I
That's
think it was that the Angel's Envy?
No, I think it was
No.
one of. I think it was
was
Elijah Craig.
Craig.
Okay, yeah. I was going to
Private
say it
Barrel
was.
Select, I think.
Yeah, it was one of the more common ones, but no, and I mean,
Take it easy.
what do you guys? So Oscar, you already
I like
you already
it.
got your nose.
Where you got dog out? I like Elijah Craig.
It's not bad.
You were like, oh, it was one of the peasant ones.
No. I'm saying I just knew it was one of the standard, like one of the bigger names that we had the higher proof of.
Paddle. That's messed up. Hurt my feelings. No, I was. What was the
I was
question?
going to ask Oscar. You already stuck your nose in it. What are you getting? What kind of nose? You getting?
Ethanol. I haven't had any breakfast either, so it's gonna, buckle in. This is going to be funny after a few drinks of this, but
I mean,
Man,
the burn's
it's-
there, for sure. But for a rye, it's still sweet.
It is.
The nose is still sweet on the rye.
it just hits my nose weird. It's
I do get rose.
Yes.
A lot of rose.
Rose?
Like rose petals.
Yeah, very floral.
and I just got back from having a cold, so
Yeah.
my nose
Yeah.
might still be a little messed
I mean,
up.
what's crazy though?
But I can't. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. That ethanol is.
It's there. Oh, it's there.
If you didn't have chest hair yet,
Before.
This grew out my nose hair.
Oh man.
Oh, it's
I mean,
So-
but look at the color too.
Yeah.
The color is just that
Definitely
deep.
a rye.
so
I
it's
call this Jurassic Park, Amber.
Yeah. It should be on top of a cane.
Yep.
Yeah.
and it's look at the legs. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's a good combination.
Even.
So
Poured mine a little heavy.
the nose that I'm getting is not so much like peppery,
Yeah.
but kind of like a potpourri.
Like a dry.
not
yeah.
peppery.
Not peppery.
Potpourri. Yeah, like a dry, like floral.
Right,
I just
floral.
get some of the. Maybe it's the sweetness, but I'm getting that sweet rose petal a little bit.
Because you still have like cinnamons and stuff like
Right.
that in
There's a
potpourri.
little bit
so-
of honey.
And yeah, a little bit of honey.
little honey. I mean, this is a good.
Not getting any vanilla.
This smells
I
like
get some
fall's
caramel.
coming.
A
Honey.
little bit of what was that?
It smells like fall's coming.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
so-
absolutely.
if you had to put it into
Mm-hmm.
words,
This is what a pumpkin spice latte.
this is what pumpkin PSL should taste like. This, or I should at least smell like it. I don't know.
Oh, man.
I haven't
Oh,
tasted
well,
it.
You're missing out.
Gentlemen, cheers to the highest rye we've had.
PSL
so far.
episode. We need to buy some Uggs and no, we're not.
Maybe we'll do a
No, we're not. I'm not buying Uggs.
pumpkin spice bourbon.
Salute.
I will not be doing.
Come by.
I don't care how good it is.
What?
Said I will not be doing a pumpkin spice bourbon. I don't care
I
how
won't
good
eat
it
it.
is.
I mean,
refuse.
I like some pumpkin spice, but
Nope.
I will not do
Nope,
a
I
pumpkin spice
refuse.
bourbon. If I do, I might as well buy Uggs and Crocs. I'm getting kind of like a mango-y too smell.
That's wild. Okay.
That's the most dangerous bourbon I've ever tasted
That
in
is
my entire
wild.
life.
Okay. Hold on.
It's very
As we all know, first sip is always going to be the heat, right?
You know what's crazy though? Normally, when you have this high proof, the heat is immediate.
mm-hmm.
Where this one,
That's exactly
it's
what
not.
I was about to
It
say.
sits on the tongue. Then when you taste it, now the heat kind of hits
Mhm.
the back of the throat, but it is not front loaded on the heat
No.
somehow.
and it distributes on
built.
your tongue, and
built.
it kind of
Yeah.
like burns the tongue.
Yeah. That was no. Okay.
Man, it made my mouth water too.
I was gonna. Well,
not,
so for
not
me,
what I expected for a rye number one,
No.
It's juicy.
or for a
Yeah.
62%
no.
rye.
It was to your point, Jameson. What happened with me is it almost like I took the sip, it hit the tip of my tongue.
Yep.
And then almost went to the front of my mouth and then towards the back.
Yeah.
With the burn, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And it's almost as if like the burn and the rye, the dryness of the rye goes so well together in the ending flavor.
Well, you can tell because
But then it just mutes itself. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
if you just let it sit on your tongue, the burn doesn't happen. Like it's not like you can sit there and go, okay, this is unbearable.
Yes.
You just taste the flavor profile. Then once it moves to the back, now all of a sudden you're getting the ethanol burn.
Yeah.
And it kind of, for me, it kind of went from like a
What
tamarind.
sorcery is this?
Right. It's kind of like a tamarind up front,
Dude,
and then it
right?
kind of
But, like,
it ended
literally-
out like when you're eating pecans.
Yes. But
Like
take a sip and just let it sit, and don't swallow it. And there's no the burn does not show up until you start to process it
And-
back to the back of the mouth.
What's wild to me is there's spice on the nose, but it's not heavy. But the
No.
first thing that you get
It's
hit
spice.
with is the spice,
Yes,
and it's
agreed.
not just like it's like an evolution of like black pepper.
Yep.
Then a little bit of
Cinnamon.
cinnamon spice, and a little bit of like
Cardamom.
allspice. Cardamom.
Allspice.
Yep.
Wow.
But it ends up kind of like a nut.
Yeah.
Kind of like a pecan.
It definitely does sit right here, though.
Oh, it's in
yeah.
the chest.
I'm definitely. I need some meds
It's like
right
Matthew
now.
McConaughey.
I feel it. I definitely feel it.
Bring
sitting
us 2 martinis.
But I mean, even-
in exactly 5 minutes, 2 more.
2 more.
there.
And then 2 more after that till we can't
I
walk
think-
out of here.
One
The
of us
craziest
blacks
part for
out.
me though is like with all ryes, it's always on the center of my tongue.
Yeah.
Like
this
the
one's on
after.
the front and the back.
Yeah,
the-
but
the
then it
tartness.
lingers like it. I'm kind of getting like a metallic,
Almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
flavor in there. It's kind
I
of weird.
I do get a little bit of the char too.
Yeah.
So I don't know what kind of char they use, whether it's 1, 2, 3. I would assume it's
I
probably
don't know my chars.
probably
I
a three.
forgot.
Three.
We
Yeah.
talked about the chars.
So I get it on the back, but it blends with that heat.
I'm excited to see what this nose does opening.
Yeah.
Because even just after there's a couple sips,
Yep.
there's a lot more oak. There's a lot more wood to it.
All right, I'm drunk.
One
Let's
sip
get
in.
talking about
So
the
hey,
real
Shelby
estate.
and
All
not
right,
gonna
so-
make that golf round.
On that note,
You have golf today?
212, baby.
Oh, with Walters?
Yeah.
Fuckers.
go.
I was gonna
Let's
ask you,
go.
but I didn't know how that was gonna go.
I would have went. I would have showed up.
All right.
I'll still show up right now.
I mean, they have an opening. I think there's still one left.
how much?
Now it's 100. It was 80 when I booked it.
I'll give him $60.
It's 212. I don't think that's how that works.
It works. I negotiate everything.
and now.
Rarely the time I don't
So
negotiate.
on this episode, guys, like I said, we're going to talk about a topic that kind of took the real estate world news or United States news by storm. And what we're going to talk about is the NAR lawsuit because there have been a lot of speculations.
NAR, National Association of Realtors.
Yes. A lot of speculations, a lot of rule changes, a lot of things said that we want to clarify, especially because everything went final August 17th.
Yep.
So very recently. So up till August 17th, everything was speculation. Everything was this is what might happen, this is what could happen. Now we know, we are here. It is in. We're getting classes and emails every day that says, "Oh, take a new contract class. Learn how to do this. Learn how to position yourself as a real estate agent." So what we're going to talk about, we're going to break down the NAR lawsuit, and the first thing that we're going to do is just talk about exactly what the changes were.
And if I could just back up just a little bit, the National Association of Realtors have been in place since late 1800s. So they've been around for a while. They're not new, and they were set in place to benefit the consumer. Really, so there wasn't no funny business really, right?
Yep.
And I think the lawsuit gave it tainted that name. And yeah, I mean we're all human and make mistakes, but the board has always been there for the consumer and to keep tabs on us. And when we early talked about this, I thought it was going to hurt the consumer more than not, and we're slowly kind of going towards that realm. And the lawsuit was by consumers, but I think they were
Coerced.
by attorneys and whatnot.
And
It
we'll
was a
go into that a little more, too.
It was a perfect storm, and in the end, I don't think there was a victor.
Well, and I'm going to be honest with you, and this is something like for me, especially doing the social media marketing and learning more about it. The thing that I dislike the most, and being a newer real estate agent, I feel like a lot of the public sees all they know of real estate agents are selling sunset, and like all of these high class things where real estate agents are touting their commission.
Sure.
Or even just, I know scrolling on Facebook, and I don't know her name, but she's been pushing this marketing class for real estate agents, and the entire premise of it is make this much per month, make this many. The entire value proposition is how much money she's making. It's not what the job actually is, which is a service industry job to your client. We are fiduciaries to our client. At the end of the day, whether or not you make a shit ton of money shouldn't matter to you. You get into this position to help the client. That is the ethics classes that we go through, and why NAR has the standards that they have and hold us accountable to them.
And if we're since we're on the topic of talking junk, you know, one of my biggest irks in our industry is like people that position themselves in Oscar sells homes. Yeah, I do have one that says homes by Oscar. That's kind of finessed, right? I have homes. I want to present. I've always structured my business to help my consumer.
Yep.
That's how I've always operated. And unfortunately, in our industry, there is hard sell. There is hard sell. We're in a sales market. We're salesmen or women, people. So there's going to be the bad seeds and the ugly side of it. But for the most part, as far as this podcast is concerned, we're here for the consumer. Even you know, we like to be very transparent, even if it's, one, makes us look not as good, or two, really, you know, slaps our hand on some of the issues. But we're going to come to you with the truth.
Yeah. All right. So,
Well, here, let's do this real quick, because Charlie, you're going to go through kind of what the changes are, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, change.
Whatever.
Like,
But I think if people are watching this, I know, right? We know that on average, people buy and sell homes 5 to 7 years. So there's a large percentage of the population that may be listening to this going, what are you guys talking about? Didn't even know about it, right? And that's thanks to Facebook algorithms. We see it, and people interact with us see it, but they may not. So I just want to give a very quick 30,000-foot overview of what the lawsuit was and why it came about.
Perfect.
And essentially what happened was the lawsuit was brought upon by sellers, represented by lawyers, and they essentially claimed that the National Association of Realtors, in conjunction with large brokerages, Keller Williams, Remax, Compass, etc., colluded to keep commissions high, unnecessarily high, which then their verbiage was swindled homeowners out of millions and millions of dollars. And the reason they were saying that was because there were certain brokerages and certain agents that were treating commissions as non-negotiable and saying, hey, if you take a listing, you have to charge X amount %. And if you charge below that, then you have to go through a review process and make sure it works, right?
And again,
So
we can't
that's
speak of other states, but in Colorado.
No, I know. I'm just saying, it's nationwide, that's where the lawsuit got its legs, was because they were essentially saying we were costing realtors, and the Realtor Association was costing sellers unnecessary money by essentially setting commission prices. And the lawsuit came at a time when everybody and their mother was frustrated coming out of 2021 with the massive increase in home values and affordability becoming eroded and interest rates spiking to 7-8%. So it was this perfect storm of just an angry
100%
consumer and opportunistic lawyers, which again, their job is to find people to sue. Otherwise, they wouldn't have a job, right?
And this isn't the first time this has come up.
No, it's not. It's been over and over and over again, and it's never resulted in change up until now. And I think it's because there was this perfect storm. But just so you guys are aware, and to recap, the lawsuit came about because the thought process was National Association of Realtors colluded with brokerages to elevate and keep commission rates high.
So there is an industry standard, right, of what the co-op is. But you nailed it. This lawsuit has been brought up and shut down, brought up and shut down. And it was the perfect storm of an angry consumer with the industry. And it had to do not even with us, it's the financial side of it. Obviously, COVID did come in and inflate all the prices nationwide. But the consumer was fed up. And who did they come after? Realtors.
Yep. And we'll say this as a disclosure 400 times during this podcast if we have to. Commissions always have,
always
continue to be, and always will be negotiable. There is not a flat rate. There is not an expectation. It is negotiable between you as a buyer and your agent, you as a seller and your agent, you as a buyer and the seller's agent, the seller and a buyer's agent, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It is negotiable.
All right. And on that note, the reason that I say the thing that changed, or one thing changed, is because, again, every news article, everything that came out said realtors are not going to be able to charge a commission, or you're going to save thousands of dollars on your home because you're not going to have to pay your realtor. Guys, I'm just going to break it down as easy as possible. What this lawsuit changed is we operate on something called an MLS, the multiple listing service. And what that does is that shows listings that we have access to on, think about it as a web browser on a page. And on that page, real estate agents have access to things like tax information.
It's information exchange.
Yeah, information exchange. So we have information like taxes, previous owners, what those mortgage rates were, all of that kind of stuff, changes that were made to the home, permits that were filled out. We can find certain liens that are on the home if it's listed in there. But all it is the MLS is a way for realtors to show information on their properties to other realtors. Now, what you guys see a lot of the time, and you got Redfin and Zillow take and pull all of their information exactly from the MLS.
It's our database for homes.
Mm-hmm. And with that being said, there is not one centralized MLS. All right. So even in Colorado, we have 3.
We have a couple.
Right?
We have Iris. We have RE Colorado. We have PPAR, which is in the Springs. We have Flex out west, and I think there's another one. I think south.
Right.
So we have a few MLSs.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with that is there were the majority of the ownership was the Board of Realtors.
Mm-hmm.
New York wasn't dragged into this because they own their own MLS, not the board.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a few things that the general public did not understand. One, you were dragged into the lawsuit if your company made over $2 billion annually. So all the big dogs got pulled in. Second of all, they had to be realtors. So the boutique, excuse me.
Bless you.
Excuse me. So it was a monetary thing, and if you were a realtor, right? So the board divvied up some of their money and said we're gonna stronghold this, and then we'll figure it out. Keller Williams went in first, cut their losses. They didn't admit to anything, but they knew if they hung in there, it was probably going to be more. So that's why they were in and out. Remax did the same. Coldwell Banker followed suit, and then there was the smaller companies that actually went. But it was put together like a class action lawsuit, right? There was all these consumers that went in, and I'm sure we'll get to it. But it was, like I said, to this day, I'm like, there was no victors, and there was no information that was given to us how we should change.
Yeah.
It was like, you need to change, figure it out.
So let me go ahead and just break down exactly kind of what brought this is and kind of what happened, right? So before, what ended up happening was when you go through a transaction, the seller negotiates X% of commission with the buyer's agent and or their client. So basically, the seller gets X% and then would say, "Hey, buyer's agent, I'm willing to do X% for you to then help the buyer write the contract, deliver the contract, go through concessions, come up with all of that information." Now, what this changes is we are no longer agents able to list any kind of a commission percentage, whatever it may be, on the MLS. So
any kind of commission, period.
Any kind of commission, period, right? So to the point of it's going to save people thousands of dollars on buying a home, or, ultimately, this could lead to hurting buyers because now there's the buyers may have to come up with some kind of a cost to pay the buyer's agent for the services. Now, you can always go and do it yourself. 100%. You don't need a buyer's agent, and we're going to be straight up. You've never needed one.
You don't need a listing agent either.
All you need is to go to a lawyer, talk to them about it.
Well, he's going to charge you $500 an hour.
and help you look over the contract, write it up, make everything go through, right?
I mean, a really simple way of looking at it is the seller dictates the amount, right? But the buyer is actually bringing in the money. So at the end, it's kind of one sets the precedent of how much, the other one brings in the money. So who really pays for it, right? That's what I don't understand. Well, the seller's paying for it, are they? Because you're setting the price to get you the bottom line that you're looking for. And if you're okay with giving out a percentage of that to pay for, the services rendered,
Yep.
You're just dictating how much and who gets what. The buyer brings the money.
Yeah, essentially what the DOJ wants, which is the Department of Justice, they want their end game is a complete, what we would call decoupling. They want the buyer to pay their own agent, the seller to pay their own agent. The problem with that is the proceeds are going to the seller, and the buyer is usually only coming with a down payment, and they're not flush with cash in most scenarios, right? And
Especially
I think,
now.
and that is why when we look at the lawsuit as realtors, we're saying, okay, the big change is the MLS cannot offer any sort of compensation on the listing, right? And that's because they can't promote it because they don't want agents picking and choosing what homes that are only available on the MLS to show their clients based on what they think they're going to get compensated for once they get through the contract. Most agents don't operate that way, okay? They don't. There are some that do, and that's why we are in this entire lawsuit. But the goal was, as misguided as I think it is to make the entire transaction more transparent. Because right now, I could go to somebody on the street. I go to 10 people on the street and say, hey, how do real estate agents get compensated? 9 out of 10 are going to have no idea. The 10th person that does is going to be an agent, right? So the goal is to make it more transparent so that everybody understands how money flows through the transaction. But to Oscar's point, the way it's being framed right now and presented can potentially hurt the buyers as well as the sellers, really. And that's kind of the line that we're talking.
Well, and Oscar, said it perfectly before. Is they gave a problem, but they didn't give a solution.
Right.
So basically, what they did is just take it, flip it upend, and say, all right, figure it out.
Yeah, we don't like that this is happening. So you need to stop. Fix it. Okay.
And
how?
And case in point,
and you're gonna give us restrictions, and at the end of the day, it did not benefit the consumer.
well, and to your point, right? Basically, what now ends up happening is you have buyers who, again, we talk about you don't need 20%, right? Let's do 3% on a $600,000 home. Okay, so 20% of 60 is 120, 10%, 10. Cut that in half, 5, right? So we're talking about $4,500. Okay, the average American right now has less than $1,000 in savings. Okay, so what you're saying is, before even coming up with some kind of payment for the buyer's agent, you have to come out of pocket $4,500 at least on a 3.5% down payment with, FHA, conventional, whatever it is, you buy down your points, however it may be. So now, I bring it up because Oscar, like you said, no solution, right? Do Fannie and Freddie allow you to take out additional amounts on your home loan to pay your agent?
Not right now.
No, right?
The only way that you could pull any kind of money through the loan is to do a remodel through an FHA 203K. That's as far as they go. Now they're allowing anyway. Keep going because it'll go.
Right, and that's just the whole point. Is they said, here's this change.
Right.
Well, now guess what? If you have buyers agents that stick to this and sellers agents that strictly stick to this and go, yeah, sorry buyer, you're not getting anything. You're on your own. Figure out how to pay for this. You're going to have an entire generation of buyers that simply cannot afford to get an agent to help them. And now, I'm sorry, but I see that becoming even more predatory for buyers.
Right, and then you have the agent, that says, "Well, I'll just do listings all day and not offer buyers." Okay, so is that listing agent going to represent both sides for a fee?
Right, and I think this is where we get into kind of the nuts and bolts of why. We'll talk about, I don't know how you want to structure it, but I like looking at it and saying, okay, why would you offer X compensation to a buyer's agent? But to me, this is like the most telling thing, right? Because the lawsuit was, hey, we're going to, commissions are being coerced into sellers paying more, right? Well, if you look at Sitzer, who was the one that started this lawsuit, gentleman that was pissed off when he sold his home, he got frustrated and went to his neighbor who was a lawyer, and the lawyer is the one that actually brought the lawsuit, right? So Sitzer is the plaintiff in this case. He's not the lawyer, he's the plaintiff. His entire argument, and this is word for word from Sitzer. Due to the anti-competitive structure of the industry before the lawsuit, I, as the seller, was effectively coerced into paying 3% of my home selling price to a buyer's agent in order to achieve a successful sale. While hiring agents is a choice for many, I don't believe anyone should be bullied into paying for undesired services due to unfair industry practices. So
Now,
what he is saying is, I was fine paying my listing agent. I just didn't want to feel like I was also paying a buyer's agent just to sell my house. And that is where the misconception of what realtors do, for me, starts. Because nowhere in here does it say anything about being fiduciary. It doesn't mention anything about negotiations, anything at all. Like, the housing market is still a free market product, right? And what they're saying is, well, I want the buyers to pay their way. If they want to use an agent, they should pay for it. But and if we were talking about, like, I don't know, buying a $10,000 car and you need $500 for a down payment, sure. But you're talking about a $500,000-$600,000 home that requires down payment due to Fannie and Freddie and RESPA laws to make sure that the loan goes through, which means the buyer's got to come with cash. Well, they don't have that cash, right? Especially if you take before 2020, where home prices were appreciating 3-4%, unless they own the house for 20 years, they still don't have that cash. So it makes sense for the proceeds that the buyer is paying for to then pay so that the buyer has representation. But in this scenario, and what Sitzer is essentially saying is, you don't need a buyer's agent, so why should I have to pay for one? And it makes sense because he has now taken advantage of the new rules and come up with a flat rate real estate service that he thinks is going to be the future, okay?
So let me...
But it's flat rate for buyer's agents. Has nothing to do with listing agents.
Right.
It's a flat rate for buyer's
And
agents.
on the buy side, okay, well, we don't need a buyer's agent. Okay, so Mr. and Mrs. Consumer, you're going to go into negotiation with a listing agent that has already established rapport with his client, his or her client, and you're going to come in and say, hey, I want you to negotiate with me as well. First of all, I don't know whether that agent's going to do it or not, because he's not going to get compensated for helping you,
Sure.
and negotiate for you. So you're coming in essentially as a customer with no representation, and good luck.
And this is so here.
How's that fair to the consumer?
Well, it's not. But this is why there is a part of me that thinks the lawsuit is going to help in that it will weed out part-time agents, right? Because the conception is listing agents do everything and are worth 3%. Buyer's agents do nothing and therefore are not worth any. Sorry, listing agents are worth X%, and buyer's agents are worth nothing, right? And it says it right here. So advances in technology years ago make it easier for home buyers to find properties they're interested in looking at or buying. So the model of a buyer's agent getting up to X% commission is considered antiquated. Some buyers, not all, some, have argued that it's unfair to pay such a large commission to an agent when they did most of the legwork themselves.
Okay, if you're a real estate agent and your value proposition is I am good at finding and showing properties,
Right.
you have a problem.
Right.
Anybody could show, a client could go find its own property. On the flip side of that, a client can also list his own house.
Correct.
The same away. So that is not the value proposition, is knowing the ins and outs transaction, knowing the law, knowing how to negotiate. I mean, showing a house should not be even a thought on a buyer's agent's side. Because any client can go find a house. That's not why you need a buyer's agent.
Right.
Come talk to me.
But that's
I'll tell you why.
That's where the misconception is, and I think that's why.
If anything, the buy side has equally, or if not more, cost.
Agreed.
If
Well,
I
not
show
any
100
more- not
houses,
any more cost, but
yeah,
depending
on the real estate side.
depending on the market, right? If it's a competitive market and you have a good buyer's agent versus a shitty buyer's agent, that's going to make the difference whether you buy your $600,000 dream home or you're 10 offers in and you're just wasting a ton of time and money
With that said,
looking for houses.
as a listing agent, how many contracts do you write to get the listing?
One,
One. As a buyer's agent,
you could write 10.
you have the one, and then you could write
Yep.
10, 15, 20 contracts. Okay? So who's doing more legwork?
Yep.
Well,
So
and
that statement right there is
it's not
false.
only that. It's not only that. The most valuable thing that we have is time. Is our time, correct? And I know for me, the clients that I helped this last year, they both work full-time jobs, going to school, right? They did not have the time to sit down, look at the HOA information on the condos. They did not have the time to sit down and call multiple HOAs to see what the insurance rates were for the HOA for the roofs. They did not have the time to look up certain inspectors that'll go in their area and then compare the inspectors to see who's going to give them the best price and the most detailed report. They did not have the time to drive to all of these houses and look at them, even if it's just, hey, I went in, here's some pictures. And that's, for me, aside from contract writing, aside from knowing how to help you save money and get more concessions and ask for the right things and the right repairs, it's simply just time. You're literally paying somebody to do the legwork for you. And here's the thing, guys. I'm the person. I haven't paid for work on my car in the last 10 years because I go on YouTube and I learn how to do it.
Yep.
If you have the mental energy and the fortitude to go through and buy a home and do inspections, do appraisals, reach out to lenders, do all that, please do it. You're going to learn a lot. As somebody who went from 0 to 100 on real estate and learning, that for me, that is where the value sits. And as always, you should determine that value. If you think it's more valuable to pay for the service, then pay for it. If you don't, go through it. Do it yourself. I'm all for that, 100%.
It's gonna be a pain in the ass.
Right?
Yeah, I think the problem, like, again, I'm going to say this a million times over, as frustrating as the lawsuit has been, right, and seeing the negative reactions on social media and the headlines and so on and so forth, personally, I actually think it's a good thing.
I do, yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And I think it's a good thing because what it is going to do, it is going to take an industry that thrives on the fact that I can have somebody, sell one home every 6 years, but maintain their license and make money. But then when they get into a transaction, it's painful, right? I think those people that are not educated or do not continue their education through the process are going to go away. And I think that will allow a better overall service to the consumer because right now, according to Sitzer and the words I just read, his entire argument in the lawsuit's foundation was buyers agents aren't worth it. That's what they said. And I'll be honest, you've worked with buyers agents that you go, why are you still in this industry?
I would say 85% of the agents that I speak to at doing real estate photography and videography, and then I ask them questions as a realtor. 100%.
But the problem is, and I think it's because in real estate, nothing is ever the same. Nothing really, aside from the contracts themselves, right? Nothing is standardized. So transactions can look vastly different based on the property, based on the area, based on the interest, based on the agents you're working with, so on and so forth. And it is so hard to quantify what we do as a buyer's agent specifically, right? But even as a seller's agent, whatever, but as a buyer's agent. And if we're not good enough to articulate that value, people assume that we just open doors and write contracts and then the contract's it, right? And Oscar's got tons of stories. I've got stories. I've won offers based on the nuances of the interpersonal relationship during the transaction, whether it's I answered my phone the quickest, whether it's I structured a contract a certain way, whether it's I took the time to find out what hurdles are going to show up in a transaction and met those head on before we even got in a contract. All these different things that when a consumer goes, oh my God, that was the greatest transaction ever. You got me into my dream home. And you go, hey, what was that worth to you? And they go, oh, it was worth X amount. Now all of a sudden I'm worth it, right? Versus a buyer that's like, hey, it was headache after headache after headache. I had to do the legwork. I had to do this. I had to ask these questions. Then you're right. Yeah, I don't think those people should be in the
but that
industry
buyer's
anymore.
agent was really good at opening lock boxes.
Right.
Yeah, but
and in that sense, like, then you know what? To me, there's a place for those individuals in something like a flat
not in
fee
our
service.
industry.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, and that's where, for me, the way that I've always looked at it, and as I said at the beginning, this is a service-based position. We are in the service of our clients. If you're working with a buyer's agent, and at the end of the transaction, you don't feel like, wow, that was kind of easy. That was easier than I thought it was going to be. You're working with the wrong agent, because I take pride on that.
Me too.
And every agent should. The fact, like, I want to take all of that blunt force off of you.
Correct.
I want to make
take the stress off your shoulders.
Exactly.
Let me handle it.
But I think I am excited that the lawsuit has played out how it is, because I do believe it is going to weed out, and the only people that are going to be left are the ones that are in the business truly for the client.
Absolutely.
Because if you provide enough value, we'll get compensated one way or another, right? But there's the only people who are going to stick around are going to be the ones that can make a living. And now it's going to turn into the only way to make a living is to be the very best at what you do. And to me, that does benefit the consumer. I think, this is just me, I think the commission side of it will get figured out.
Yeah.
Right?
we're already
We talked about it today. So, just so you guys are aware, if you're a buyer, right? Oscar, do you want to go over what it looks like from a contract as far as who pays commission if you're a buyer?
So in the contract, they added some verbiage. We don't know whether we're going to get compensated or not, but we can ask to have the seller through the seller through the selling agent's company for the buyer's behalf compensate their agent. So we've already started. There's companies that won't tell you if there is a co-op, because we could pick up the phone and say, hey, are you offering a co-op? I mean, that's the easy workaround.
Oh, and by the way, so where can you advertise co-op compensation?
Anywhere but the MLS, but that's not
so
directly from it.
But if I list a house, right?
Depending on who's your attorney.
Hold on. And it's on Facebook. Can I put it in a Facebook post? Yes. You can.
Yeah.
Can I put it on a property website? You absolutely can.
Yeah.
Can I make a TikTok about it and go, hey, by the way, we love buyers. X% is available for you if you bring a buyer. Yep.
I mean, we're literally tiptoeing around that, but yes,
you can
100%.
All right.
So and with that said, the consumer, you're not the problem here.
No.
Please know that.
Nope.
You have zero guilt. You're not the problem. We're not even the problem. It's the communication between the solution of this lawsuit and within the industry. So there's other agents that are kind of mucking and muttering the waters, and we're trying to figure out and clearing the water for the collective.
So,
and that's where the problem sits.
Yeah. And with that being said, one thing that we may run into, and one thing that we want to kind of break down some numbers on, is something that we've seen. I mean, I saw a billboard on it on the side of the road.
Can't talk numbers.
the OnlyFans one in New Orleans?
Yeah. No.
Did you see that?
No.
Oh, dude, there was an OnlyFans ad on a billboard in New Orleans that Caitlin and I saw when we went out there for her work, and I was like, "There's no way that's real. Like, there's no way." It's a giant billboard on the side of the main highway. OnlyFans, subscribe. Here's a QR code, and this thing was like twice the size of this wall.
That's awesome.
Good for them. I was like, "That's fake." 3 days later, it's on the national news.
Good for them.
Wow.
Good for them. No, what I want to do is kind of, because what I've seen is already there was an agent that bought a billboard on the side of the road, and it was basically flat rate. Let me just let me write.
She's bold. She's bold.
I'll do this, right? And basically how it was built, this structure. I picked up the phone, gave her a call, acted as a potential client, just to try and figure it out. And
damn it, now she knows who you are.
If she watches this, what's up, yo? Please stop doing what you're doing. No.
Charlie's gonna come with a black eye, like I told you.
Basically, what she's doing is she will not pay to market your house. She will not do open houses. She will not do photography. She will not do any kind of marketing on Facebook or anything like that. You can pay her a flat rate of $500 to $1,000, depending on the contract, to write your contract and list your home, and then basically a la carte for an extra $300, she'll do an open house. For another extra $300, she'll take the pictures.
Here's
where
I see
it.
From a managing broker standpoint, there's so much liability because you can't really do that. If you go into agency, you have to look after your client's best interest, and she's not.
No, she can't. She's got to be a transaction broker.
And that's exactly what
she
it is.
has to not have fiduciary duty.
And that's
it's garbage.
Yes.
That's a great segue though, because if you want, and you can start this off, but there is a reason that we offer X compensation to buyer's agents to represent buyers. Why is that?
Because if you started tracking the hours that we're working, you're not going to want to pay an hourly rate. And that's just on average.
You know, but from a seller standpoint, why does it make sense to just have a buyer be represented on their own with their own?
Oh, because now I'm fiduciary to my seller. I don't have to worry.
Which means
that
what?
means I am only worried about the outcome of my seller, and I am working in the best interest of my seller and don't have to worry about anything else other than my seller's bottom line.
And the buyer or the potential buyer now has recourse through his own representation. So it's been clarified. The seller is not going to be, there's not going to be a potential lawsuit in the future because your end didn't disclose something on that side. You gave that other agent all the information. What he communicated to his buyer is now on that side of the transaction. So it avoids lawsuits too. I mean, is there still potential lawsuits? Absolutely. There's always lawsuits that can happen. But the recourse for that buyer is the buyer's agent. We have insurance.
I don't know, in my head, I just imagined like a Las Vegas style wedding chapel, but it's for real estate, for writing contracts.
No, dude, it's a joke. But so let me ask you this, Oscar. When you are a listing agent, right, and you go to say, hey, I'm going to sell your house, what are the two things that you do that affect how much that seller is going to make on their house? Like from a skill standpoint, what are the two things that you offer as a seller's agent with fiduciary duty that will help that seller sell their house for the highest price possible?
Oh, I'm going to pray hard that it sells.
Okay.
I mean, really, no.
Shout out to Jehovah.
Yeah, that's not what you should hear. So you got to understand you have a good marketing plan.
Yep.
Right? And networking.
Okay.
I mean, I have a network that I want to say 80% of real estate agents don't have.
What about negotiation?
Negotiation is probably one of my best strong suits.
Right.
Right? But even just my networking, I could throw that in because not every agent has that.
But networking is marketing, right?
It is, but not every agent could do that.
Right.
You could pay and buy that
this.
marketing, but you can't pay and buy my network.
Right. My point is this. If I were to ask you, is it fair that the only way to get the highest price for your home and therefore the most money in your pocket is marketing and negotiation.
And when you say negotiations, the ins and out of how the transaction works.
Regardless, if I don't pay a buyer's agent a compensation, I then turn into a transaction coordinator, essentially, right? Or a transaction broker. I can now no longer negotiate. So you have, out of the whole, I have now taken half of my ability to sell your house for the highest price possible away. Because if we're not offering a buyer enough compensation to pay their own representative, I now have to become a transaction broker, which means now I cannot negotiate on either party's behalf.
Let's look at it from a sports standpoint. What makes a great team outside of the talent of the team?
Coach.
Mm-hmm. That coach is going to take them to the national championship. It's going to take them to the finals. It's going to take them all the way.
So you're saying Nick Saban can't coach Alabama and LSU at the exact same time in the national championship?
No.
Weird.
Right?
Weird.
So a coach is going to take you there. Now you're going to take that position as a coach. That's as a listing agent or a buyer's agent. You're the coach.
Yep.
You're going to coach them through. You're going to get the best possible outcome. And then you're going to turn into a referee.
Right.
Do referees win games? Yeah, but not in a good way.
Nope. And the
that referee is just going to say, you can't do that.
Right.
You can't do that. Let's get this game to the end.
And the goal is, as a seller, you sit there and you talk to one of us, and now you negotiate how much you want that commission to be and say, hey, this is what it's worth to me. Here's what I bring to the table. Here's how I'm going to sell your house. Here's why I believe we should offer some sort of compensation to the buyer, because you don't want to be in a position as a seller to sit there and say, hey, Jameson, I got this offer. What do you think I should do? Mm-hmm. And then I look at you and go, I don't know. What do you think you should do? And then you go, I think I should counter at X. And I go, that sounds like a great idea. Let me write it up for you.
To wrap this side, that's how I kind of present it, right? You're a coach. You're going to lead the team to the final. If I turn into a transaction broker, I have to referee, and I got to make sure I stay neutral to my best ability. What we talk about over here, we can't talk about over here, and vice versa. Let's get to the end unscathed, right? So there's just...
So here's what I want to do. And I want to give... Because obviously we're three realtors talking about a lawsuit against realtors. So we're undoubtedly going to get people saying, oh, well, these guys are just complaining because they're not going to make enough money.
No, I'm not complaining.
All right, look.
I've said 5 times. I think it's a good thing.
Well, here's what I want to do.
It's a me.
Here's what I want to do. Jameson, you put in some work over the last couple days, breaking down some costs around this lawsuit, some money fact cost. Okay, so can you break down for us? And again, guys, this is for you. We just want you to listen to this part and honestly give us your feedback as to what you think. As Jameson said earlier, the gentleman that initiated this lawsuit has now come out and filed an LLC, a company, for a flat rate buyer's fee to write contracts and be the buyer in a transaction, okay? What I want you to do is listen to the monetary breakdown of this lawsuit and the hourly that the lawyers on average are taking for this lawsuit, and then how that pertains and switches into an hourly charge for an agent. So Jameson, I'm gonna go ahead and let you break it
so
down.
the filing, and you guys can look this up, it's public record. The head lawyer for this class action filed his compensation and what he's looking for to take out of the $418 million settlement. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what the settlement was, $418 million. He is representing that he worked 7,000 billable hours between 2019 and now. So that's what, 5 years, right? For those 7,000 hours, he is saying that his compensation should be $10 million for 7,000 hours of work over the course of 5 years.
And let me break that down. 7,000 hours is 291 days. So he is saying he spent 291 days. I'm talking 24 hours, 0000 to 2400. He worked 291 days in that element.
In 5 years.
In 5 years.
So how many days per year is that?
So there's 365 days in a year.
So he didn't even work a year.
No.
Number one.
No, he didn't work full
So
year.
he worked 4 hours a day
4 hours a day.
consistently on this.
Okay, so now let's break
Okay.
it down even further. 10 million divided by 7,000 hours is what?
I think it's somewhere around 15.
$1,500 an hour. Okay?
$1,428.57.
Right. So now let's say he's got a team of paralegals working for him. He's got to pay them, right?
Okay.
So let's say he pays them half of that. $700 an hour is what he is charging to represent sellers who are getting on average, what is it?
Oh, those
22?
paralegals aren't making half that.
No.
money.
The sellers that are
seller.
part of the class action, it's like $39.
No, I'm saying even the 1,400. But anyway, yeah.
No, I know that's on the. I'm way over.
Yeah.
So he
being
is
nice.
charging $700 to represent a lawsuit that is going to net the sellers involved $39 total. He's going to make $5 million if he pays $5 million to his paralegals based on $1,400 and how much? $1,426 or
yeah,
something like that per hour over the course of 5 years.
Yep.
So if
And that was
that's,
Monday through Friday, 4 hours every day.
if that's the case, right?
Roughly.
So now, okay, cool. So let's look at hourly rates and what people are worth, right? So here's the thing you guys have to understand. The Sitzer, we'll go back to him. Here's his Landian is his company that he formed. Here's his offer, okay? His offer is for buyer's agents. Now, again, this doesn't affect sellers, agents, listing agents at all. And I'm going to give you exact numbers because this is not part of the lawsuit. Buyers have the option to pay a la carte. That a la carte again, right? For Landian's offering, $49 for each home tour, $200 for an offer prep session. Or if they want more hand-holding, they can cough up a flat fee of $1,800, which includes up to 5 home tours and 2 offer prep sessions. So for $1,800, I can see 5 houses. I can offer on 2. Okay? With additional services available on an a la carte basis. So let me ask you guys this. And this is funny from a Best Buy standpoint, right? And I really want to hammer this point home. Anytime you see a la carte, it means they have figured out a way to charge you more for less.
Yep.
There is a reason that everybody was pumped that cable was dead because we had streaming services now, right? Charlie and I worked at Best Buy for a long time. One of the biggest, one of the most oft asked questions we got was, I want to cut cable and go streaming only. Help me. And once we started asking questions about what they wanted to watch, how often they watch TV, etc., now it turns into, well, you need a Netflix account and a Hulu account and a DirecTV account and this account and this account. What has this turned into? Let me give you an example. NFL Network, for your NFL fans out there, since it's the beginning of the season. Last year, for DirecTV, if I had DirecTV and I wanted to add the NFL Network on, it was $299 for the entire season, right? Well, the NFL Network just got bought by YouTube TV. Do you know how much the NFL Network is now this year if you want to buy it on YouTube TV?
$600.
$499.
Yeah.
Okay? So now I'm paying $499 a year for just the NFL, which is 6 months. Then I have YouTube TV, which is like $17.99. Then I've got Hulu because there's certain shows that I only want to watch on Hulu. That's $10.99. But then I want Netflix because everybody has Netflix. But I want it in 4K because I have a nice TV. So that's $24.99. But you know what? I also want Apple TV because I love their original shows. That's $19.99.
You gotta have
but
Prime.
Damn it, you know what? Game of Thrones, the House of Dragons.
It's on HBO.
That's on HBO Max. That's $14.99 a month. So what happens is this a la carte just ends up costing you more because, for one, and I can ask both of you this, how many clients have you had that only see 5 houses before getting into a home?
Few and
5
far
houses
between.
a day?
No, just 5 houses. Just 5
Oh,
Few
houses.
and far between.
Just
Few
5
and far
houses.
between.
Right?
I'm sorry, but if we look at 5 houses and you tell me you're going to buy it, I'll probably look at you and be like, let's look at 5 more.
And how many
Like,
times have you only written 2 offers before going under contract?
A handful of times.
Right? So what about in a competitive market?
Oh, you're writing a lot of contracts.
Right. So this $17.99, which includes 2 offer. Now these are offer prep sessions. Okay, offer prep sessions, which means what do you want to offer? Here's the dates and deadlines. Does this work for you? Awesome. We'll do these 5 houses, and I'll write 2 offers for you for $1,800. Okay. Nowhere in this.
That blows my mind.
Hold on. But nowhere in this does it say that they have a fiduciary duty to then negotiate.
No.
Right? Because the offer prep could be the offer. Well, I also want you to negotiate my inspection items. Oh, well, that's a la carte. Well, I also want you to be my fiduciary. That's a la carte. Well, hey, the appraisal came in low. Can you negotiate that? Well, that's a la carte. Like, do you guys see what I'm trying to say?
As a
is
business
you can
model
break
from a
down,
risk management standpoint, that is
you can break
insane.
down the cost as much as you want, but as you go through a real estate transaction that is not just A to B
You're
straightforward,
going to end up paying more.
you are going to end up paying more. As a buyer's agent, you are going to end up paying more. So let's just do the
And
math.
that's out of pocket.
So let's do the math. Let's say you
Out of
offer, let's
pocket.
say you see 15 homes and you write 4 offers.
Okay.
Okay? So 15 homes and 4 offers would be, I don't even know what the a la carte is, but let's say it's $49.
15
So
homes.
so call it
times-
$1,800 is 5 and 2 offers, right? So that's 10 and 4 offers. So 1,800 times 2 is 3,600.
Okay.
Now I want to see 4 more homes, 5 more homes. That $50 a piece. That's how much.
That's another
$250.
$250.
So now I'm at 36 plus 250.
At $38.50.
38. Call it $4,000. Well, now I want you to negotiate. Let's say that to negotiate is another $1,000 per. That's $5,800, right?
Okay.
Now let's say I want you to write me an inspection resolution because I don't want to write it myself. That's another $200. So now I'm at $6,000, right? You're as a buyer, you are now coming out of pocket
on top of
minimum $6,000,
And you're not being represented.
And through all this,
So
you're
if
not being
anything goes
represented.
south, you're on your own.
Yep.
You're on your own. If things go south, when you're represented, we are your recourse. We are your recourse, whether you're buying a new construction or not.
Now let's take it a step further and let's look at it from a seller standpoint. Okay, so if let's say a majority of the buyer pool decides to go a la carte, okay, that means you guys got to understand this. That means that buyers are going to look at homes until they run out of money. Which means if I'm listing a house,
I can't afford to go look at houses.
what happens if I'm the 7th house that this buyer wants to look at, but they ran out of money? They can't afford it. I have now cut my buyer pool down, which means, and this is just supply and demand economics, the more eyeballs and offers I get on a home, the higher the price I'm going to be able to charge.
Well, now think about
If I'm alienating buyers, I'm going to get less for my home.
So now think about the transaction as a whole as a seller's agent, right? You get an offer from this guy, and then you call him and go, "Hey, I want to go over this.
I'm going to send a counter.
Yeah, hold on. I gotta call and make sure with my client that they're willing to pay me this hourly so I can talk to you. Give me a second.
Not only that, but from a listing standpoint, are you willing? Because when you take on a customer, no representation, right? You're not representing them. Now you're representing your seller. Well, if that customer is not happy, who's he going to sue? The listing agent and or the seller. I'm assuming there's no third party.
Right.
So that just opens up way more doors for lawsuits.
It's just
I mean, I've looked. So I've had clients that I've toured 30 houses, right? And probably
got you
written
beat.
7 to 10 offers. Based on this a la carte, my commission for that is actually more than had they just paid me X percent to be a buyer's agent, and it cost the buyer more.
I wrote 17 offers on my own home.
All right.
So when I was looking for property,
Yep.
I was all over Castle Rock writing offers left and right. I wanted to be in the Diamond
So
Ridge
2,
area.
4, 6,
Sapphire
8.
Point.
Hey, let's
before I-
pull your calculator. Let's do this.
Before
Hold on, wait.
before I
let's do
found
this.
my house, 17 offers I submitted.
How many houses did you actually go see?
About 30.
Okay, cool. So let's do this. So you said 17 offers, right? We offered 10 times before we bought our house, but we'll do 17. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So that's 8. So 2 offers. So go 1,800 times 4 is what?
7,200.
Okay. And then you said 30 houses. This includes 5 home tours. So 5, 10, 15, 20,
But what does
25,
home tours
30,
mean? How many houses you could jam in one tour?
Well, no, it just says 5 home tours.
So 5 homes. Just one tour is one home.
So yeah, just do, so then
We'll
5.
do 25 times 50.
Yep.
Total 8,450.
Right.
Just to put
Just
the offers in.
to put offers in
and look
and
at
to
the
view
houses.
houses.
No negotiation, no inspection, no appraisals,
Nothing.
It's
nothing.
wild.
$8,000.
That's wild. And just to give you guys an idea, the average home price right now across the country is $420,000. So if you were to do and this is high,
Let's just do X percent.
X percent, you're looking at about 12,000. So before you
And that
even-
12,000 is paid for out of the proceeds.
Yep.
Not by the buyer.
Nope.
I'm not exaggerating. I had a family member early on in my career show houses, and I didn't know how to, really, I didn't. This was like year 2 in real estate. I showed her and her husband 85 houses.
Yeah.
85 houses, and she chose number 2. The
chose-
second house I showed. Yeah.
I showed and in one day, I drove around and showed 9 different properties
Yeah, that's insane.
in one day. And I don't like doing that.
Well, and you can set your own hourly, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And here's the thing. By setting the hourly, this is just running a business, right? If I'm running around and my Jeep Cherokee gets 23 miles per gallon. Well, if I can calculate how much gas it's costing me to show 9 houses.
Wear and tear on the car.
That $49 might turn into $70 a house, right?
I mean,
And now all of a sudden, what's gonna happen is nobody. Put it this way. So let's just break this down. As a listing agent, I personally provide certain services that cost me money.
oh, we've seen
right?
your OnlyFans.
Cost
Same.
me money. I need to recuperate that cost and also make money to continue to doing the job that I do. So if it's costing me, let's say I do this, right? Let's say in order for me to sell your house at top dollar, we have to stage it. I have to get professional photography. I got to get a landscaping company to come out and clean it up. I have to pay for websites. I have to pay for Zillow Premier. I got to pay
Boosting.
for whatever it is, right? I got to pay for postcards and direct mail marketing,
Mailers.
et cetera. And it's going to cost
Just listed, just
it's going to cost me $6,000
sign,
total, right?
lockbox.
Let's just say, right? Like if I want to stage a house for 30 days and it's a 3,500 square foot house, it'll cost me about $2,500 minimum. Photos plus Matterport, 3D tour, video, etc., $650.
Time.
Right? So now I'm at $3,000. Now I want to farm the neighborhood, call it $400 to hit 500 houses. Now I'm at
That's cheap.
$3,700, right?
It's more expensive. than that.
$3,700. I want to pay for Facebook ads to get your home in front of as many people as possible. Call that another $400. Now I'm at $4,000, right? So if I'm going to pay $4,000, I'm not going to sell your house for $4,000. Why would I be in business?
And then what about your
Especially
time?
If all of
That's
that,
out of pocket. What about your
I'm
time?
not even talking about that.
Yeah, we haven't even touched the time.
I'm going to pay it for pre-inspection, which is $300, right? Now I'm at $4,300. I'm going to do all these things to get your house ready to sell for the highest price possible. I'm not going to make $4,200 and spend $4,000 and make a living making $200.
Well, and I think
You know what I'm saying?
the thing that everything that you just heard Jameson do, okay, that entire little tidbit there, that is what every single agent has the ability to do now on the buyer side. Because to Oscar's point at the beginning of the episode, they gave us the problem, but they gave us no solution. So you want to talk about regulations? You want to talk about regulatory? As of right now, as things sit, there is nothing from stopping a buyer's agent from saying, I'm worth $1,000 an hour of my time.
So my point is, if we get to that point where we're just compressing margins, right, you're going to lose the good people that make money selling and helping people buy real estate. And now as a seller, we know this is from human beings just in general. We're all lazy. We'll pay for convenience. We'll pay to solve a pain point, and we'll pay for pleasure. Those are the two things that we do, right? I'm just saying those are the two things. Those are the two things that we'll do. So if I can now no longer do that, and I have to sell the house on my own, dude, I'm working with a client right now who's out of state in a camper somewhere in Oregon, and I'm in the process of selling his house. He doesn't have time to do that shit. He's going to pay for somebody. There may be some of you that have all the time in the world. By all means, do it. Go back to the beginning of the conversation. You don't have to use this. That's fine. I'm excited because the lawsuit, to me, is going to uncover the true value of using a professional that is good at their job. And I think what's going to happen, this is a hot take on my end, I think it's actually going to get more expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're going to get the agent say, hey, what do you do to list my house? Well, what I do is I pay for 30 days of staging. That's $2,500. I pay for professional photography, lifestyle video, cinematic video. That's $600. I pay for Matterport. That's $50. I do this, 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 and this. Oh, by the way, I just sold your house for $30,000 over what your neighbor sold using a different flat rate agent. That word gets around, and everybody goes, hey, you should use this person. And now all of a sudden we're back to square one. The only difference is we just can't out front in the very beginning advertise what I'm offering somebody to represent somebody else.
I can't wait for the
That's
NAR
That's
1
dude.
year later episode.
That's it. Like that's literally all it is. But a la carte, I think, goes the way that streaming went with cable.
Absolutely.
Where somebody goes, I don't want to pay $200 for cable, but now all of a sudden I'm paying $350 because I want X, Y, and Z. And wait a second, I'm paying $150 more, but I'm getting more entertained.
I'm glad we're drinking.
Actually, I was literally about to grab it.
Not to be confused with a la mode,
saying, bro.
but Jesus.
No, and that's it. And unfortunately, what it is, and here's the thing.
Can I have one last thing?
Yeah.
It could
You're kind
be
of
my-
on a rant right now, bro.
Well, no, but
You're
it
kind of
could-
on a rant.
Go
I'm
ahead.
kidding. Go. No, you're good.
No, you're good.
I'm good. I'm drinking.
So I'm not naming names, but I, as a licensed realtor in the state of Colorado, have an opportunity to represent people in lawsuits against other realtors. Okay, and in the state of Colorado, if you sue a licensed individual, you have to get what's called a certificate of review from another licensed individual in the same industry to present to the court to see if your case can move forward. Now, what we do as certificates of review is we go over the contracts in real estate transactions and decide based on our professional opinion, does this have merit to go forward, right? So that sounds very similar to me just being a realtor, going over contracts with a buyer or a seller as a fiduciary and saying, hey, I'm representing you, and in order to move forward, you're going to pay me X amount so that I can make sure you get from selling your house or buying your house to close, right?
Just so it could come full circle, is an attorney needing you?
Yes.
Oh.
Because an attorney cannot write a certificate
Look
of
at
review
look
against another licensed
Bullshit,
individual.
I swear.
Guess how much
mic
I
drop
can
moment.
charge per hour to do that based on experience, certification, etc.
And this is what the market entails. Again,
This is the market.
the market. This is
Anywhere
not coming up
from-
with a cost.
No, this
Anywhere from $300 to $3,500 an hour, because let's say I do offer a certificate of review and I say, hey, this licensed individual, he violated his fiduciary duty and his, whatever you want to call it, like his duty to disclose certain things in this particular transaction. Well, now let's say I get deposed because this goes to trial, right? And they need depositions. Now, let's say I charge $500 an hour. I can now charge $600 an hour because I'm being interrogated by the other person's lawyer, who has their own expert witness, who, oh, by the way, is a realtor, a licensed individual. Now, what I'm saying is I could take that same information and say, hey, here's what I do in a professional capacity. when it comes to protecting individuals in a real estate transaction, my flat rate, quote unquote, is $500 an hour because that is what the market demands. That is what clients will pay. Because if they win the lawsuit, guess what? They don't pay me. So they don't care.
All right.
Well, I'm doing that exact same thing in a real estate transaction. I'm not charging my sellers $500 an hour.
I'd much rather
I'm
get
not charging my buyers $500 an hour.
So to your point, Jameson, so let's take that on the low end, okay? On the low end, we have a lawyer who values, or lawyers that value real estate knowledge at $300 an hour, okay? So on average, the NAR, Realtor.com, on average, the average real estate agent works anywhere between 40 to 50 hours per week during transactions, during the buying process, all of that kind of stuff, okay? So let's take it, I'm going to go low numbers here. We're going to go 300 times 40. 40 hours for the week.
I did 600. There's 2,080
Okay.
workable hours in a year.
But
That's
do it as a
$1,040,000.
Just do it as part-time.
That's what. Okay, so we're
Divided
gonna
by
do.
two.
I'm gonna do 40. Okay.
$500,000.
I'll do 40. So now we have $300 times 40,
$12,000.
$12,000 per week. Okay, that's a week. Now, Zillow put out a report in 2021 that says on average, home buyers, and I do Zillow because that's what most consumers reference, right? They put out that says it takes an average of 4.5 months to find a home. Okay, so now, how many weeks are in a month? 4. So, 12,000 times 4, $48,000. $48,000 times 4, $192,000 just to work with a buyer's agent based on an hourly basis.
Now cut that down to 10 hours a week.
10 hours a week?
Yep.
All right. So now we'll do
So
300
$300
times 40, 12,000 for, or sorry, excuse me. So 300 times, we'll do 20 hours a week. So part-time, half-time, that's 6,000 times 4. That's 24,000. So that's $24,000 a month that you're going to pay while you're looking. Times 4, $96,000
Right.
throughout the time. And I'm sorry, but if all I have to do is work with one client, one person, and make $96,000, yeah, I'm going to be a buyer's agent all day, every day.
Charlie,
All
I have a
day.
question for you.
Yeah.
Did the lawsuit specify, because obviously it's all about regulation, right? We don't want to inflate commission. Did the lawsuit specify a cap
No.
that agents can charge as 1099 employees for their services?
Nope.
Nope.
Oh.
Exactly. And now look at this. The guy who comes up with the lawsuit
Interesting.
starts an LLC that comes out with a la carte. Anyway, capitalism.
I digress.
Baby.
Again, okay, so
Capitalism,
all right,
baby.
and a quick easy math.
I
At
digress.
At $300 an hour, right? Which is kind of middle ground for all that.
Yeah.
If you're doing it full time, there's 2,080 workable hours a year. That's $624,000 a year.
Now, I will say this, okay? And I'm just going to play devil's advocate very quickly. For all of you that are watching, Colorado is different than some states because there are states where you pay an agent, right?
To open doors,
A commission.
you do.
But then you also pay a lawyer to draft contracts, look them over,
Any show that you see them say, put it in an escrow,
etc.
those are those states.
In
So-
Colorado, specifically, we handle opening doors, closing doors, making sure they're locked, not forgetting the keys,
Securing.
but also
property.
writing the contracts, reviewing the contracts. We don't use attorneys in Colorado. You can for an extra cost, but we are trained, coached, continuing education on contract classes to review and to know those contracts inside and out because we do not use real estate attorneys for our transactions. And one of the reasons is because of what I just said. The going rate for somebody to review a contract is between $300 and $3,500 an hour. So it's
So-
actually cheaper for consumers to use us licensed agents here in Colorado to write and review those contracts. But we do that legwork. So, because I know there's going to be a lot of people on TikTok, whatever, when we cut this up going, my agent just opened doors. That may very well be the case. And in that scenario, I actually agree that you should probably just pay per door.
Yeah.
Realistically. If they're not doing anything else, by all means, $50 a door, fucking
Do it.
go for
All
it.
day.
Yeah, do it.
Like, it is what it is.
Well,
So-
and I just want to throw this out here as
Put
an
it up.
example. Okay?
I've paid other agents
Yeah.
to open doors for me.
show on me.
That's
Show-
not where
show on me.
my value is.
Yep.
Hi. My name's Charlie. That's how I got
I wonder how
started in
much
my real
marriage
estate
counselors
career.
make because there's been times where I was a marriage counselor and
Oh,
a
psychologist.
shoulder to cry on, and hey,
So-
I'm happy to do it.
So let me just put the numbers that I gave you before. that was $300 an hour. That's market rate, okay? Just doing this quickly right now. On an average transaction with X percent in commission with the average price of a home, you're looking anywhere between $10,000 to $13,000 for X percent commission.
$0 to $13,000.
Yeah, 0 to 13, okay?
Realistically.
All right?
Or 0 to 0.
If I were to charge, just $100 an hour for real estate services, writing contracts, everything we just talked about, in 1 month of work, I will make $32,000 off of that transaction. Okay.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's uncapped.
Exactly.
If you charge
yes.
hourly, it is uncapped based on the menu of options that you provide your clients as a realtor.
I
Plain
mean,
and simple.
labor laws, overtime.
And
we
the
haven't even
beauty of
touched
it is-
any of that
That's why-
crap.
and the
How many
beauty of
times
it
have you
is-
taken a phone call at 10 o'clock at night?
Oh, yeah.
Right. And the beauty of it is it's negotiable, right? And anytime something is negotiable, you get what you pay for. If you have somebody that says, I'm going to charge X amount and it's on the very low end, then I would expect as a seller to get low end returns because there is
Run.
a cost to doing business. I can't charge $1,000 to sell somebody's house and pay $600 for photos, $2,500 for staging, so on and so forth, because I'm essentially saying, hey, by the way, I'm going to make $1,000, but I'm out of pocket $4,000. That's a horrible business model, and anybody that thinks that's okay should not be in the business anyway.
And
you
now,
know what I'm saying?
with the current way that we do business by cooperative compensation, there's times we do take it in the shorts.
100%.
You don't sell the house. You don't sell the house. Now I'm out $1,500. I've been out $4,000. I've been out a lot of money, but it's just part of the business. So you move on. Now, if they pay me hourly, don't matter where I close or not, my stress levels would be so much lower.
Well, and so I'll give you an example, right? Without giving specific commission rates, I had an agreement with a seller to sell their house based on the information we had at the time. We go through a contract. We figure out that literally a day before close, that the payoff amounts were very vastly different. We renegotiated my compensation. Okay. I'm not going to tell you the numbers that I started at, but what I will tell you is I went from making X amount to now, if I sell this house, I am going to make $10,000 less just to make sure that this individual can get out from under the house and move on with their life. It was renegotiated because that compensation is negotiable, and it always will be, and always has been, but that is what has happened. And that's a perfect example of going, oh yeah, realtors make too much money. There was a dollar amount that we agreed on after having the conversation saying, hey, this is negotiable. Contractually agreed on, that I then renegotiated so
to
that
make it happen.
So that the numbers made sense, so that this individual walked away with something from the sale of the house.
And again, I've taken care of generational clients, right? So grandmother, parents, and I'm with grandkids now, and their startup home, their forever home, to their retirement home. And I had a client, they bought a few houses with me, and I came in and I said, hey, you know what? I'm going to save them some money. I'm going to give them a big discount because they've been repeat clients. They've been great. They refused it.
Yep.
You are worth this much. You have helped us. You have been there for us. They refused it, and they paid me more.
And so,
I mean, I'm not going to, and I told them no, but they were like, no,
Yep.
stop it. Just do it. So your value proposition has to be there, but you have to be able to provide it and prove it.
Yep.
If someone's just opening doors, absolutely.
Pay them to open doors.
Pay them $5. I don't give a crap. But if you don't have a value proposition in this business, you need to get out.
Yep.
And that's just
All
me
right.
being Andre because I've had some bourbon.
Well, no, I was going to say, for the sake of time and all of our listeners and viewers at home, we could literally, especially with this bourbon, talk about this for hours. So let's go ahead and concise it down to our one rock takeaway. If you guys haven't been listening and don't know, our one rock takeaway is a concise final thought on the episode topic from each one of us, just to kind of cap it off before we move into our bourbon review. So who wants to take it on their one rock takeaway?
I'll take the one rock takeaway, and I'm going to take a little sip more. I'm going to crash your golf thingy later. So my one rock takeaway for the consumer is
Later in an hour.
make sure that your agent, whoever you're interviewing, has a good value proposition. It's not scripted. It's not some value proposition that they got from a class that someone emailed them and gave them, come learn your value proposition. No. If it's not genuine, it's not really a value proposition. I'll sit there and tell you why I'm good and why I'm worth it. Now, if you want to pay me less, then it's my decision to accept less. But this is why I'm worth what I'm worth. I'm there to make sure you're being taken care of. My one rock takeaway, make sure your agent's telling the truth in their value proposition.
You want to take it? Want me
Yeah,
to take it?
I'll go.
Go for it.
So my one rock takeaway is that I am excited for the consumer coming out of this lawsuit, because I think it is going to make the experience more transparent. I think it's going to inject a higher quality of service
100%.
from the agents that stay. And I like the commission side and who pays what and where and how. I think that all gets figured out, right?
We're going to figure that out.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
But I think the end result is that anybody going forward, as misguided as a lawsuit's intent was, I think it is going to result in a higher level and higher quality of service for people buying and selling going forward. And I'm excited for that. I really am.
And again, for the viewers that are not in Colorado, the things, the nuances that changed were already happening here.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that changed for us was that we can't put it on the MLS. Other than that, we have been practicing that since we've been licensed.
Yeah.
So I love it. I mean, yes, I think it's going to bring a better quality of agent for the consumer.
My one rock takeaway for this overall episode is educate yourselves. I've said it often, but at the end of the day, guys, I paid $350 3 years ago to learn everything about real estate. And
God, that was cheap. I paid $1,700, man.
But that was it.
$650. What the fuck is happening?
I took the classes
I got
on my
screwed.
own. I took the classes on my own at
went to
home,
Kaplan.
3 hours a day, got it done, passed the test, and within 1 month, I had way more real estate knowledge than I ever planned on having in my life. And it has been a beautiful journey learning finances, negotiations, homes in general. Like, I grew up poor. The homes that I've been able to see since becoming a real estate agent have inspired me in my life moving forward more than I can ever explain. But please educate yourselves, whether that's taking a class, whether that's reaching out to a family member who's been a real estate agent and talking to them about these changes.
Or us.
Learn and just teach yourselves about it, because I genuinely believe the reason that we got here is because we as real estate agents did a poor job of communicating what our job is, what we do, and where the value stands, and that's how we got where we were. So just learn, do the education, learn about it, ask us questions, leave a comment. We love talking about this, if you can't tell. So please, we'd be more than happy to talk with you about it.
There's two sides to that coin you just said. We are not, what you said, we're not good at promoting what we do.
Yeah.
Whether it's good or bad. I have a bad habit of not projecting the things that I do, and that's a bad thing for me, not for the consumer. Consumer's going to get great value, but me breaking it down and saying, look, this is the great value you're getting. My value proposition. So that kind of opened me up to saying, look, this is what I provide. Right. This is how I provide it, and this is what we do. For you.
It's a to me, you can summarize it. One of my favorite quotes is, if you don't achieve what you want to achieve, you either have a bad plan or bad execution. Right? From a real estate standpoint, you either can't articulate your value or you can't provide value.
Yeah.
And I think as a consumer, you guys have to look for people that can either provide the value, really, in a best case scenario, provide the value and articulate what that value is. If they can do one of two of those things, If they can do zero of those things, go somewhere else. If they can do both, you got yourself somebody that's going to fight for you till the end.
Yeah, I mean luckily there's referrals, because my referrals speak way better than I can about myself.
But I'm just saying, like, if you can sit
right.
there, if you can articulate what your value is, and you can then prove and show that value, as a consumer, you've got the right person in your corner.
I mean, guys, I very rarely, I consider this patting myself on the back, and I don't like to do it, but just case in point, just take this as an example. When I got into real estate, I took a look at real estate photography and videography, and I went, wow, I could learn how to do that. And I've done that specifically because in my mind as a real estate agent, when I go talk to a seller and I say to them like, hey, I can do all of that for you, and I understand the nuances of the marketing and how to SEO and how to push your listing. I did that specifically because I thought it brought more value.
Yep.
And yes, it's turned into a business for me and I love it. But at the end of the day, now I know how to best support my clients in a way that some other real estate agents don't. And that to me is a value proposition. That is an example of a value proposition, right? But again, we could literally talk about this.
We
for
don't want to
hours.
belabor the points. Okay.
We want to just leave this alone because we are walking a thin line. We're talking about this subject.
Right. But on that note, let's go ahead and move into the bourbon review for today's episode. I'll tell you what.
Can I just say thanks to the Rouge one more time?
Yes.
I'm enjoying this space.
Yes.
And I'm enjoying the bourbon.
I'm a jazz guy. I like cigars, jazz.
What's
and
in my
bourbon.
trunk right now?
Yeah.
What's in my trunk?
A
body?
150 vinyl of jazz.
Pallets of vinyl,
I just bought a
right.
bunch of vinyl.
Like and it's just I love the energy in here.
It's awesome in
It's
here.
relaxing. It's great. Definitely come grab a drink.
Yep.
They have weekly drink specials. Chris is actually working right now.
Got food.
on the food and the cocktail special for the week. Stay tuned. We're gonna start trying to do some things for you guys where we're gonna take video and photo of the specials so you can check them out on the channel, see what's coming up. But on that note, the Heaven Hill Grain to Glass Kentucky Straight Rye Whiskey.
It does not disappoint. I'll tell you that much. right
No
now.
siree, Bob Dylan.
Again, we've had our fair share of words with ryes, and we've always said ryes have to be in their own category just because they're vastly different. This one drinks.
Very good.
It drinks like a bourbon.
Yeah, it does drink like a bourbon.
It drinks like a spicier bourbon.
I love it.
I give it a 2.
Just a straight.
Hey, it's not even gonna mess around. I'll give it a 2.
Nope, give it a 2.
You gonna give it a 2?
The burn stays. The burn has continued. It opened, but it's the same.
Same thing as last week for me.
Yeah.
The burn is still there on the nose, but the flavor definitely comes through a little bit more.
Man,
The notes.
nose burn is.
The notes there. I'm getting way more of that floral, way more of that spice on the nose now. And again, my glass has been sitting open. I'll tell you what, sipping it. The one thing, and we always talk about this because obviously, guys, this is, and I hate it. We did a post on Facebook and I put #bourbon connoisseur and I
Oh yeah.
like
yeah,
it
yeah,
twinged a little bit
Yep.
because I don't want. I just a dude drinking bourbon talking on a podcast.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that this is one that if you are new to bourbon, I'm just going to be straight up, don't drink this. Only because this will, I'm talking like if this is like the second time you're drinking bourbon, you will take a sip of this, and from the time it literally fills your mouth with the burn, and then you feel it in your chest.
You're gonna be like.
That's where you're gonna be like, yeah, I don't like bourbon. So like, definitely make this into a cocktail.
I mean, but
for bourbon,
not in the way you're
drinkers,
thinking
no.
though.
But for bourbon drinkers, this needs to be in the rotation. If you do not like rye, but you love bourbon and whiskey, this needs to be in your rotation because
This is a high level bourbon.
yes.
You're gonna need a better palate for this. Taste wise is not what we're talking about because
Yes.
Jack Daniels is 80 proof, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is 123 proof.
And
Jack
boy,
Daniels
howdy.
a sour mash. It's gonna taste nasty to some of you. This, it's the burn you have to get through to get to the complex flavors, aromas.
I think this is right up your alley, Oscar. Like this is.
Oh, yeah.
Like this is an Oscar.
This
bourbon.
is a bourbon drinker's bourbon.
Yes,
Absolutely.
It really is.
And it's a
And-
rye.
Yep.
It is. And if you put this on ice
It's not spicy
on
at
a
all.
single cube, I think it opens up.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Or I would put this. I would do a ball. I would do a.
No,
I would
that's
do like a
single
yeah.
cube. Well,
yeah.
single
This would
big
make
single
a
ball.
a
great
big rock
old fashioned.
or a ball. Like yes.
It'd make a
absolutely.
great old fashioned.
Oh yeah, that symbol would cut. Oh boy.
It'll probably be
Yeah, no,
very
this
vanilla.
This is
Yep.
so far. This is the best rye.
You know what?
Yes.
That I've
This I'm going to agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Yeah.
go
This
ahead
is
and
the
give it a
best
2
rye
too.
I've
I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm going to give it a 2 as well. And I think this would make a phenomenal
If
Manhattan.
this wasn't 62%, right? If it was like 50,
Yeah.
then it'd be on par with like the Elijah Craig single barrel select. A couple of the
Smoke
good
Wagon
ryes.
Rise.
But at that high of a proof to maintain the flavor profile it does throughout the last
And not be in
hour
your
and a half,
face spicy.
and not in your face spicy, and then understanding that yes, you could make an old fashioned onto this, it would be phenomenal.
Manhattan.
If you put this
Mint
on a
julep?
rock, it would be phenomenal. And we always talk about the feel, right? Like there's some bourbons you'll drink, makes you feel sluggish, makes you feel meh. This has been just a good vibe the entire time.
Yeah.
Like not hard to drink.
honey notes right now.
I mean, yeah, dude,
it's great.
Hit you in the
It's great.
chest, but not hard to
It
drink.
does.
It'll
It
put you on
does.
your ass if you let it.
But it hits you in the chest, and you're like, oh man, I'm drinking this just to drink it because I want to say I drink a high proof
Yeah.
bourbon. This is something that I would like special occasion pour neat for people. Mm-hmm. You know, like hey, we've had a couple of drinks, but I want to pour you something not on the rocks. I want it neat, and I just want you guys to enjoy it.
For me, this is for me, special occasions like, ooh, this is a cool bottle, let's drink it. This is more of a sit down and relax.
Like I would
Like,
be like,
if
yo,
you came over,
yes,
if either one of you came
exactly.
over,
Yes.
you enjoy and appreciate
Only
a good
because I
bourbon.
could walk home from your house.
Yeah, right. But
I would-
I'm
oh,
gonna
man.
I'm
I
gonna
might
bust
have
this out.
to
Be
stop
like,
at Jordan's
you
on the
gotta
way,
have
like,
some
Jordan,
of this.
I need a nap,
Yeah.
bro.
I
Yeah.
would 100% like to your point, Oscar. This is one that I'd be like, yo, you know what? I just want to go have a chill
Yes.
night with my boys, just relax and
something good.
decompress.
Yeah, you don't go out
decompress and,
after
like,
this.
No,
No,
and
do
like
not go out
not
after
at all.
and you know,
No.
decompress and
Yep.
just relax with my friends and have a good time. You know, literally
with a
decompress.
really good Maduro.
I was
Oh,
legit
yeah.
about to say I would walk
100%.
in with my cigar case and be
Yes.
like, all right, guys, we're gonna sit here. We're gonna talk about life, love, the pursuit of happiness. Here's a box of
This is how like the
dark-skinned
Rockefellers
cigars.
of the world
Yeah.
Drink.
created the
Because you have
businesses.
the celebratory stuff, right?
Yeah.
Ooh, this is cool. I want you to try it. Here's some Pappy, right?
So can we say this is a thinker's bourbon?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. This is
Yes.
definitely
Thinkers and
a
drinkers?
a
Thinkers and
thinker
drinkers?
appreciative
Yes,
bourbon.
Agreed.
Yes,
I agree.
absolutely.
I
I love
agree.
it. I love it. Well,
So
we
I got
got
a two.
Two from JMO.
Two
from
all day.
Oscar. I think I'm gonna go a little bit higher. I think I'm gonna put it at about 2.3, only because again,
0.3.
only because I think of the person who's gonna walk into the Rouge, talk to Chris, and say, hey, I want to try a rye. I've never really drank it before, and Chris
Yeah.
is gonna be really excited about the high quality bourbon and the amazing drink that it is, and then they're gonna take a sip of it and go.
Yeah.
I can't really get the second one will be
Right,
good, but
right.
that's the only reason I'm going to go a little bit high. And again, that's
But
just.
again, I think Chris is smart enough to give him like some Templeton.
Oh no, absolutely.
Some a little more
absolutely.
mellow.
But on that note, guys, like I said, make sure you come to the Rouge Friday, September 6th.
I'm gonna
6
try to
8
make it.
PM.
I'll try to be here.
I will be here because I just want to meet the head distiller from Old Forester.
Oh,
I think that like
that's
a
the number
celebrity
one
and a
reason I'm
half,
going to try to make
right?
it here.
So make sure 6 to 8, September 6th, come out to the Rouge. We're gonna have it's a flight. It's not just one or two.
Yep.
You are tasting a flight of bourbon, talking to the head master distiller for Old Forester. Check it out. Then wake up the next morning and come have an extremely
Just fun.
just
a
fun
fun
time.
Saturday morning.
Yep.
With the drag brunch.
With the drag brunch. Check
Started
out their
at
website.
11:30, right?
Yep. 11:30. Check out their website
Are
if you
you
want.
wearing a flapper? Are you part of the show?
Oh, I'm part of the show.
Oh
man.
hell yeah!
If you want to check it out, check out their website, the rougewinebar.com. And you can see everything about the events coming up.
Yeah.
You can see all their drink lists. And guys, I wish I could do like a scroll of their drink list. It's phenomenal. It's all not just cocktails. This is mixology. They're not just putting syrups and stuff in. They are crafting these cocktails from the ground up to make sure they're well balanced, they taste well, and they complement the spirit that is in there. So definitely check them out. This is great. Guys, we are figuring out some more stuff behind the scenes as far as contacting us. We want to do some events here for you guys in the future to come meet us, come drink some bourbon with us. So we're working with them on figuring that out. But as always, please like, comment, share the video. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes. You can even find us on Pandora. I think Samsung Podcasts. We're everywhere.
OnlyFans.
OnlyFans for Jameson.
I'm just saying. I
Or
got you.
Only Homes.
Yeah.
Stay
Only
tuned.
Homes.
We got another
Only
one
Homes.
coming.
And guys, I mean, let's grab a bourbon, pick my brain.
Yep.
I'm 99% of the time, I'm like, let's do it. Let's put it on the books.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Oscar, where can they find you?
Oscar at OscarTheRealtor.com.
And Jameson?
The Colorado real estate guy.
You can still find me at That Lifting Agent or The Lifting Agent on Instagram and TikTok. Guys, like I said, subscribe to the channel. You can always reach out to us and get in touch with us. RESOTR at themilehighperspective.com. We are working through a little bit with the phone number, so just keep an eye on it. It's in the description. All of that is in the video description. And if you are listening to the podcasts, please remember that our videos do have time codes on them. So you can go, you don't have to sit through the entire hour 45. We'd love it if you do. but you can always pick out the points that you want. We're optimizing those specifically so you get the exact information that you're coming here for. But again, reach out, resotr@themilehighperspective.com, or give us a phone call.
720-584-3361.
And we will be there for you to answer any and all questions. Thank you guys for sticking through us on this one. A lot came out. We talked about a lot.
Woo!
But check us out next week, and stay tuned on the socials. We're going to be updating you guys on events going on at the Rouge, different wine, bourbon, and food specials. And we'll catch you guys later.
Yep,
Yes, sir.
I got to get back on social. I'm back at it, guys.
Cheers.
Come back. Cheers.